I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jess.
She's traumatized.
And she's the abandoned.
And welcome to our
podcast,
where we talk about true crime, spooky things, and everything in between.
And today is our part 2 of our cults. So welcome back. If you're confused, last week we put our part 1 out, so go check it out because that's when Nikki did her crazy story about
the Remnant Fellowship Church.
If you gain weight, it's sinning, which is not true. We do not believe that. We do not endorse that here. That's awful. Anywho, we're recording at the same day, so like nothing's really happened.
Yeah. I mean, which is fine because the cults ones are lengthy anyway, so jumping right in isn't a bad thing.
It's not the worst thing.
But also check the trigger warnings before you watch last week's episode for sure.
Yeah.
I think, and today's trigger warnings.
Today is gonna be rough,
check
guys.
It.
There's a
Cults
lot.
are just rough
Cults
in
are rough.
general.
Yeah. I definitely got triggered last week, but here we are. Okay. Do you want to know today's fun fact of the day?
Yes. Fun fact of the day.
Fun fact of the day. I was like, you better fucking do it. Okay.
Brain pause. The brain buffered for
I
a
was
second
like,
there. It was real-time buffering.
Oh man, we need more caffeine. Okay. Did you know that it is almost impossible to get too much sugar from fresh fruit? I've heard this talk about the diet culture
Way
lies.
to relate last week.
I tried. I should have done that for last week, but here we are. While the sugar in fruit is mostly fructose and glucose, which fructose is what converts your fat in your body, you can't get too much sugar from fresh fruit because it also contains a lot of fiber and water, which slows down your digestion and makes you full. So you would have to like overeat significantly, probably make yourself sick before you got too much sugar from it.
That's true. Fruits do have carbs in them though.
Now, fresh fruit, dried fruit is actually very bad for you because when you dry it, you take out all that water and you could end up eating like a whole bushel of apples with like one bag. So just be careful.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize how triggering last week's episode was going to be for you. I was like, oh, maybe, because I knew your mom was religious, but I didn't know that it would be so close to home for you.
Like, I'm pretty sure my mom was in that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she did that diet. Yeah.
If your mom lived in Tennessee, she would be in that church.
Oh, 100%. I'm surprised we didn't move there. I'm just kidding. No, everything has to happen in Virginia. Virginia is the state. Nothing else can occur. No one other state exists except for Virginia. Anyway.
Which explains why you don't know where any other state is.
No other states are important. Okay. So we're going to hop right into mine. Just to let you guys know, there is a lot of underage
essay.
Okay. And just in general essay and racism and just a lot. This is a really fucking bad cult, which is crazy to me because I've never heard about it until.
I don't think I've heard about this either.
It's the Nuwaubian Nation.
Okay.
It's bad. So we're just going to go right in there. Dwight D. York was the founder. He was born in June 26th, 1945. He was also known as Malachi Z. So York, who was an American criminal, a black supremacist, musician, singer, songwriter, but he was best known as the founding leader of several black Muslim groups in New York, most notably the Nuwaubian Nation, which is a black supremacist new religious movement that has existed in some form since 1960s.
Okay.
So, York began founding several black Muslim groups in New York around 1976. Nope. 1967. I'm dyslexic. Yeah. It's bad today. And this is my intro, so it's kind of all over the place, but we will break down everything.
Gotcha.
He did change his teachings and the names of his groups many times, incorporating concepts from Judaism, Christianity, Muslim, UFO religions, New Age, and
Did you say UFO?
I did. And many others. Yeah.
Okay.
Finally, he settled on the Nuwaubian Nation and moved the growing congregation into Bushwick, Brooklyn in 1972.
Okay.
So his most loyal followers were invited to live in a communal housing called Ansaru Allah community, where everyone was separated by gender and age.
Interesting. Oh.
At his headquarters, his followers strictly adhered to his teachings and beliefs. Children attended his schools. Women were mandated to work in the office. And his male followers were tasked with recruiting new members.
Okay.
These are some quotes. When you were around him, you were mesmerized by him. He was so charismatic. It was amazing. I thought York was a messiah. And that was Ruby Garnett. So this is really big. I actually got this for People's Magazine Investigates Cult. It's a docu-series on HBO. The magazine did a full article on it too. So that's kind of where I got most of my information from.
Mm-hmm.
So York was also a staunch believer in polygamy.
Okay.
And had sex with many of his female followers. A select group of his favorites became his wives.
Was he the only one that could? Or...
To be determined.
Okay.
So this is the same survivor and former member, Garnett. Another quote from her. He gave me a diamond ring, said Garnett, who wed York at the age of 19.
Okay.
I was so happy I cried. I felt special because I am looking at being in his family as a privilege. It was an honor of service to be a part of his inner circle of wives. All right, so we're gonna break it down a little bit, kind of like exactly what you did last week. So let's talk about Nuwaubianism. So they refer to their belief system, which mixes Black supremacist ideas with the worship of Egyptians and their pyramids, a belief of UFOs, various conspiracies related to the Illuminati, and Bilderbergers. All of that mixed in creates the...
What did you say?
Bilderbergers, yeah.
What's that?
So it is an off-the-record forum established in 1954 to foster dialogue between Europe and North America. It's kind of like Illuminati. It's not an actual thing, but it's like I don't know. It's a conspiracy.
Okay.
The thing is, Nuwaubianism is not theology. It's factology. It's the right knowledge, and also known as a slew of other names.
Okay.
This is from their website. We are the indigenous people of these shores. Before the settlers from Europe came to these shores, spreading their way of life, their filth, and religion.
But they're not native indigenous people.
So racism, I mean, I'm just going to be out front and say it. I do believe it can go both ways. This is definitely like Black supremacists. This is going to be triggering for some people. Again, I know that there's racism the other way as well. Like, racism's shitty. It's awful. Like, so just bear with me. Okay, so this is directly from Dwight York from his lecture, Egypt, which is spelled E-G-I-P-T, by the way, not Y. White people are the devil. They say the Nuwaubians are not racists. Bullcrap. I am. White people are devils. Always was and always will be. They are like openly racist. They know they are. This is from a letter dated November 10th, 2004. The Caucasian has not been chosen to lead the world. They lack true emotions in their creation. We never intended them to be peaceful. They were bred to be killers with low reproduction levels and a short lifespan. What you called Negroid was to live 1,000 years each and the other humans 120. But the warrior seed of Caucasians is only 60 years old. They were only created to fight other invading races to protect God's race, Negroids. But they went insane, lost control when they were left unattended. They were never to taste blood, then they did, and their true nature came out. Because of their reproduction levels were cut short, their sexual organs were made the smallest so that the females of their race would want to breed with the Negroids to breed themselves out of existence after 6,000 years. It took 600 years to breed them, part beast. It is difficult to describe the Nuwaubians' belief system because it changed over time and truly lacks internal consistency. I mean, the group has put out dozens of books, many of which were largely plagiarized from New Age works. Wow. Yeah. As a result, Nuwaubian mythology is a disorienting mix of UFO theories, talk about the significance of Egypt and the pyramids, references to Atlantis, and retelling of stories from the Bible and other religious texts. Just everything. Okay.
Everything. Yeah. A mix of everything.
Yep. The common claim is that the original humans were black and that blacks are genetically superior to other races. White people are called devils, a concept derived from the Nation of Islam's belief. But Nuwaubians allege that their lighter skin color is a result of leprosy and the fact that their ancestors mated with dogs and jackals.
Okay. I mean, the first part I think was kind of true because didn't we come from Central and as they spread?
I think so.
And then from there, they lost me with the dog fucking.
Yeah, love that. Now we're going to focus on Dwight.
It's like they take a fact and then.
I feel like that's what cults do, though, right? It's truly
true.
based on a fact, but then, like, what did you say?
Yeah, what did you say?
Yeah. So, Dwight York, by building a cult, he trained and regarded himself as a god. Dwight York was able to create his own personal empire, over which he exercised dictatorial control. But before he was a god, yes.
Oh, so he is full on, I am God.
Yes.
God, like I'm a messenger of God.
No, he's the Messiah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He is God.
He is God. Yeah.
Okay.
So before that, he was actually a struggling ex-convict.
Okay.
So, born in 1945, Dwight York was arrested for statutory rape on June 25th, 1964. For those who don't want to do the math, he was 19 for having sex with a 13-year-old. So, no, like the whole statutory, we actually paused and looked it up. It's like consent on both sides, but 13-year-old, really? Like, I don't think that's
not old enough to consent.
No. Not even a little. So I don't know. Anyway, he was given a suspended sentence and put on probation. I guess because he was close to 19, like he was close to 18. Like he was, you know what I mean? But like, come on.
Just like the legal system across the board freaking disappoints me with sexual crimes. Like I feel like people who do sexual crimes get like 3 to 5 years and they're out. Like it's so unfair.
So this is fucking wild. I didn't put this together before. He was born on June 26, 1945. This happened on June 25th. So he was 18. But 18 is 17 or under, right? So I wonder if that's why. He was still 18. It was the day before his birthday.
Interesting.
So I wonder. I don't know. Well, surprise, surprise, York broke probation later that year when he was arrested for possession of a deadly weapon, assault, and resisting arrest.
Wow, that's a lot.
As a result, he served 3 years in prison. So when York was released, he worked as a street peddler in Harlem, selling pamphlets that he had written and other items, including incense, which I think is very strange and definitely a repetitive motif, I guess, in this story is incense and smelling good. Like it's just something that
interesting.
Very. And I wonder if it subconsciously he uses it because smells remind you of things. So I wonder if he like uses that as almost like a brainwashing thing of if you smell that scent, you remember him, maybe. Because it's definitely something that continues to come up.
Really?
Yeah. Now, there isn't a whole lot of information on him after his release until he started to pick up a handful of followers, many of whom he started to invite to live with him and his first wife in their apartment. So we know that he would start peddling and he started selling incense, but don't really know anything until he started developing this first group.
Is he in New York the whole time or?
Currently, like where we are in the story, he has not left New York.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So he hasn't left New York. He's still there. York's group was originally known as Ansar Pure Sufi. In the early 1970s, they then moved to Brooklyn and took on the name Ansaru Allah Community, or the AAC.
Okay.
So again, I mentioned before they switched names a lot. So the AAC men were sent to the streets to sell pamphlets, books, and incense. The literature raised money for York and his group, but it also promoted the AAC and encouraged readers to come and hear York preach.
Okay.
So York, who went by several names while leading the group, began to adopt the moniker Dr. Malachi Z. York.
Okay.
He switched his name because why not?
Well, isn't like Malachi like a
I think it's a godly name. Yeah.
It's like
Weird. The meaning of Malachi is actually queen. She who is queen.
Oh.
The name Malachi in the Bible is a Hebrew name for the prophet in the Old Testament. Messenger of God. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, that makes sense. But the first thing that popped up was Queen. I'm like, huh. Through the 1970s and 1980s, the AAC expanded greatly with, again, the men hitting the streets and bringing in new prospects. York eventually had about 500 people living in about 20 apartment buildings that he owned in the Bushwick districts of Brooklyn.
Wait, how does he own these buildings?
He just started buying them. People started donating. It, like I said, within those 10 years, the religion exploded.
That's crazy. That's
So-
almost as crazy as freaking Gwen's.
Wait, we're getting there. The AAC operated bookstores, gift shops, clothing stores, and even a grocery store.
Red flag, everybody.
The AAC chapters were found in several other U.S. cities and abroad in Trinidad, London, and Toronto.
Interesting.
AAC members in Brooklyn were asked to surrender all of their possessions,
Red flag, red flag. It's a cult.
live in New York's barrack-style apartments, and work for free.
Red flags.
Many were given a daily quota of either $25 to $100, which they had to reach by either begging or selling literature.
Wait, so they had to bring in money for the cult?
Yep.
So not only would you have to work like a full day, you would also have to, like, if you didn't make your quota, you have to like go on the streets and beg for money.
Those who did not meet the quotas were either beaten or otherwise disciplined. York's thugs.
Thugs? Churches, they don't have thugs.
He did.
Obviously. What the heck?
York controlled his followers' lives almost completely. He would even go as far to choose their spouses and mating them according to his godly whim.
Yikes.
Oh, get this. Men and women lived in separate buildings. So when they wanted to
Okay.
have sex, they were forced to ask permission to use a designated room. Sex with one's spouse was a privilege granted when one's duties had been performed satisfactorily.
I hate this so much.
So bad. York claimed he was royalty. Over time, York's need to control every
Wait.
aspect of his followers. Yeah, first he was a god, now he's royal.
So,
He's a royal
like,
god.
I don't. Oh, so he's a royal god.
Yup. This is where it's about.
Buckle
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
red flag, trigger warning. I don't know.
Over time, New York's need to control every aspect of his followers' lives grew more sinister and sexually depraved, according to former members, law enforcement sources, and news accounts.
You know what's crazy? Not crazy, but that just shows the difference between male cult leaders and female cult leaders.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Like, there was none of that in my cult. And you talk about a male cult leader, instantly, it's sex driven. Like, usually male led cults are sex driven.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, the one you did that was in Australia, the drug one.
She was a woman. She was a woman leader.
Yeah, and that was about sex though, right? Or there was things done. I think maybe not.
I can't remember.
It was forever ago. But no, I agree. I feel
That's
like it's
the
very
first cult I did. I think
I
the mother.
know.
What is it? The family.
the family. Yeah. That was, I guess, more about
I think it was
children.
more child abuse.
Yeah.
than-
You're
I don't
right.
think there was any sexual in it.
Oh yeah, this gets
She
so
wanted
bad.
to control the children.
Okay. I feel like I
can't
remember you
remember.
saying like she would marry people kind of like what he's doing. Like they would sign people to, I don't know. I could be confusing. We've done a lot of these.
I mean, Gwen did the same thing. Like, you couldn't marry without their permission. and
That's true.
stuff. Like,
That's
they
true.
They controlled the weddings and controlled the couples, but they didn't. What I'm trying to say is, like, men leaders usually
There
are
wasn't
sex
sexual
driven for
assault.
themselves.
Right. That's fair. It's more a control thing for women. I think.
Whereas, like, women leaders aren't, like, necessarily thinking of sex for themselves. Like, how many husbands can I get? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
Right.
almost every male leader, like, how many wives can I have? How many
Right.
women can I sleep? Like,
Yep.
even the children of God that you did, weren't the women, like, they had to, like, wasn't
And
it swinging
Nixium.
and stuff?
Yup.
Nixium. He had, like, a sex ring of just women.
He literally,
The men weren't doing that. Like,
no, that's true. That's very true. Well, York used this group as his personal harem.
yeah.
At one point, he has 30 wives and over 100 children.
Yikes.
He was effectively able to have sex with any woman in his cult. He would preach to the young women.
Did he have to ask for permission for a special room?
No. He had his own like building and shit. Anyways, he would preach to the young women that the person who takes your virginity is the person you're going to have the strongest connection to and be loyal to. So he would assert himself to prove that they were going to be loyal to him.
Ew, that's gross.
He allegedly impregnated many of these women, and it wasn't long before he started to pursue underage girls.
Oh my God. That's so gross.
Your emotional support cat.
I know, he's really here for me right now.
York purchased 80-acre property in the Catskill Mountains in New York in 1983 and used it as a retreat home that he called Camp Jazier. According to one of York's sons, he spent about $5 million to build a mansion on the land. Girls and women were brought to the Camp Jazier by van and lived in trailers attached to the house. One woman who grew up in the AAC recalls being sent as a 6-year-old to Camp Jazier.
No. What does that mean?
Where
What does
York
that mean?
sexually assaulted her.
You're lying. At 6? No,
Another
you're
woman
lying.
recounts being manipulated into having sex with York when she was 12. Some of the cult's older women reportedly helped to manipulate the children, showing them pornography and sometimes participating in the molestation.
Ew.
Nikki
Were they
Lopez
doing it so they wouldn't get molested, or were they actually like believing
think
that
that
this
they
is,
were
like,
grooming. It was grooming. They were grooming them for York.
but like on purpose, or like were
Mhm.
they being manipulated into doing it?
I
You
mean,
know
I
what
feel like there has to be some sort of form of manipulation, whether they think they're doing it for the right reason. I can't imagine. I don't want to imagine a
wouldn't-
world where women are willingly, stupidly saying, okay, yeah, these girls are going to just be sexually assaulted. You know what I mean? Like, I
I
don't know.
would never. I don't. How do you get manipulated into doing that?
To believing that, because he would literally, it was a world where he was God and everything he said was fact. And like I said, like having sex with a god only would help you out in the long run. So really it's fucked.
So gross.
Nikki Lopez, who joined the group at age 11 with her mom, was 13 years old when her sexual grooming process began.
The fact that there's a process. Jess. Are you sure my cult wasn't that bad? I feel like my cult wasn't that bad at this point.
I don't think it was that bad.
I mean, not for the children. Obviously, it was horrific.
Yeah, the children were beaten and people were starved. But I think it's comparing like oranges to rotten apples. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay, continue. I don't know if I'm ready. Okay, continue. I'm not even like making eye contact with you at this point. I just like don't know what to do with myself. I still have my emotional support cat. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. All right. I'm ready. Not really, but go.
It's just going to get worse.
Oh God. Okay, go. I have Shadow. It's fine.
At first, she said York allowed her and a few other kids special access to his house to watch cartoons and eat junk food. This is a quote. He would give us little treats. He gave us t-shirts and we were like, oh my gosh, we have short sleeve t-shirts that no one else has. We're special.
Just say it.
Soon, however, Lopez said she was taught how to perform oral sex by one of York's wives, who convinced her that sex with him was a Sudanese tradition to prepare them for marriage.
So they're just taking other cultures and saying that it's part of it. Like, what is this?
York claimed at one point to be the heir of the throne of Sudan. So yeah.
Okay.
Trigger warning. This whole fucking thing has been a trigger warning.
Yeah, no shit.
One night, Lopez said she was asked to stay behind at York's house, where he held her down and raped her, and she was 15 at the time.
That's awful.
NYPD started to get suspicious finally.
Finally. When was this? And
So, as time passed, law enforcement in New York City started to probe York's possible involvement in criminal enterprise and of organized bank robberies and counterfeit checks that were funding his group. So, they're kind of answers how they were getting all this money.
What? They were bank robbing?
Mm-hmm.
How?
I don't know.
Like, I'm
Criminal
just
enterprise.
so confused how people rob a bank in modern day. Like,
well, as the scrutiny mounted, York moved his followers to Eatonton, Georgia in 1993. So this was like early 90s, late 80s. So I mean,
I guess, yeah, they don't have like as many. That was when cameras started, right?
Right, I think so.
Cameras and security systems and
Sorry, I forget how fucking racist the story is, and I surprise myself. The relative isolation of the land probably appealed to him. The largest town in the region was a population of 6,764 in 2000. So that was the largest town. It was very, very isolated.
Okay.
This is where his teachings took bizarre and unpredictable turn. And I'm like, how the fuck has it not?
I was gonna say, weren't we already there? Bizarre and outrageous.
So in Georgia, York drops the pretense of being a Muslim completely. So we're no longer Muslim.
Okay.
The group went through several name changes and identities. For a while, York claimed to be Chief Black Eagle of the Yamasee Native American Wars of the Creek Nation.
That's rude.
He even applied for a license to operate a casino.
Oh my God.
After this failed, York settled on calling his group the United Nation of Nuwaubian Moors, using an Egyptian motif. So that's where the Egyptians started. He also identified himself as a god from outer space.
Oh, good Lord. God
it's not
to royalty
funny.
To God from outer space.
It's not. York declared that his armed compound, which featured 2 40-foot plywood and stucco pyramids and a sphinx, was sovereign nation and refused to follow the local, state, and federal laws.
Wait, so are you saying they built their own pyramids? What? Why? What?
This is...
Oh my.
Most of the Nuwaubians at the Tommy Ray lived in cheap trailers, while York lived in a mansion on the property. So as many as 400 other Nuwaubians lived in the surrounding areas.
Those are like communal trailers, right?
Correct.
They're like men and one, woman another.
No, you could not have sexes in that at all. York's operation became very profitable. During a June 1998 Savior's Day celebration at the Georgia compound, York took in about $500,000.
Took in just from like his congregation, or
yep. He charged Nuwaubians $25 a year for their Nuwaubian passports, which allowed them to enter and exit the compound.
I'm confusion because they're not allowed to make money. So how are they paying this?
You have to make money on top of your contributions.
What does that mean?
A network of chapters and bookstores called All Eyes on Egypt, again with an I, also brought in funds, and members continued to raise money through begging and holding jobs. So at this point, the members were allowed to hold jobs. Now, in New York, it was a compound that everyone was in, right?
Right.
Now we've moved to Georgia. There's like, I think I said 400 people around the compound. So they were allowed to have jobs as long as they contributed to the church.
Yeah.
So one of the group's sources of revenue was a nightclub called Club Ramses. Okay. It was illegally operated in one of the Tama Ray pyramids, which had been zoned only for storage in the facility. So...
okay. So we're like people from outside the community
would come into the club. Yeah. Because it was in a pyramid. How cool.
Okay.
So in May 1998, police shut down the club.
Okay.
In response, Nuwaubians printed slanderous articles about the government officials in Eatonton. They threatened town leaders and disrupted government board meetings.
Okay.
After attorney Frank Ford represented the county in a lawsuit against the Nuwaubians, his tires were slashed by Nuwaubian spokesperson Bernard Foster. A rock was thrown through his office, and trigger warning, any animal cruelty, do not listen the next 5 seconds. Gutted dog was left in the street next to his house.
Ew. What is wrong with people?
Also, Putnam County Sheriff.
Do to them.
Also, Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills was sent a number of anonymous death threats. The Nuwaubians claimed the town's attempts to regulate their buildings were racially motivated. One Nuwaubian flyer referred to 2 local black leaders as house inwards because there were 2 local black leaders. They were house N-word.
Oh, okay. Got you. Okay.
I can't say
Sorry.
that.
Sorry,
I'm not
yeah.
going to say it. It's slanderous and extremely offensive. Though these allegations gained little traction in Eatonton, they received national attention. Al Sharpton came to Tama Ray in 1999 to speak against the town's obvious racism, and Jesse Jackson spoke at Tama Ray in support of the Nuwaubians in April 2001.
Okay.
I would assume at this point they were unaware of nothing had really come out about the child accusations, so they were just supporting the movement. Put that in there. Jacob York, one of Dwight's oldest sons, learned about his father's Tama Ray compound around 1998. He had actually left the cult around 1990. Troubled by the news, he actually went to Georgia to confront his father. According to his son, Dwight, so Dwight York, the leader, told him, "I don't believe any of this shit. If I had to dress up like a nun, if I had to be a Jew, I'd do it for this kind of money."
No.
From there, Jacob started to build a case against Dwight by helping Sheriff Sills find and interview victims of his father's abuse.
What? Wow.
By 1998, whispers of York's sexual depravity reached local enforcement when they learned about trigger a rash of underage Nuwaubian girls giving birth in the local hospitals.
Because you can't hide that shit. I'm surprised they were doing like home births or something.
I think for like the dangerous ones, and there was just too many. I mean, it was a lot.
I mean, but he had like, what'd you say, 130 kids or something like that?
Yeah. At one point, he had over 100 kids. So
I don't get that. Like, I wonder if that's like a psychological thing. Like people.
Oh my
who
God,
just
like that one
want
guy.
young kids.
Remember the one guy, the one doctor? He wanted to spread his seed, and who like used his own stuff to get everyone pregnant.
But there's also like, I feel like I've heard of like cases where like mothers will have kids, and then once they reach a certain age, they like neglect them and like, and then like
they just
have
want the
another kid.
babies.
Yeah.
However, the turning point in this case came in 2001 when York's estranged son and other followers, including Lopez, came forward with their tales of abuse. In the spring of 2002, investigations by federal officers of York ramped up. Officials started to plan the arrest of York and raid his compound, but they wanted to avoid a Waco-like incident in which a deadly siege or standoff could occur. Now, Putnam County inspectors had been turned away by armed Nuwaubian guards in the past.
So they did have arms. Okay.
So it's possible the situation could escalate if not handled properly. So they wanted to be careful about it. Authorities began investigating molestation claims against York 2 years earlier when his estranged son Jacob and several of York's victims came forward with accounts of slavery, starvation, and sexual abuse that dated back decades.
What? What do you mean? Starvation and slavery?
On May 8th, 2002, cult leader Dwight Macaulay York was arrested as he walked into a grocery store in Eatonton, Georgia, putting an end, authorities said, to his years of sexually abusing children of his followers.
Okay.
York was arrested. So later that day, 300 law enforcement officers, including agents of the FBI, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and several local sheriff's departments stormed the compound, and they met no resistance.
Okay.
There, they discovered dozens of female followers, 50 to 75 children, 30 stockpiled guns, and evidence of York's sexual depravity.
That mean like videos or
including a stuffed pink panther with a penis attached, and photos taken at Florida's Disney World, where York would often take his child victims.
No. We're not just gonna pretend that you didn't just say what you just said. What? Don't repeat it. Please don't repeat it. But what?
It was like supposed to be like how they taught.
Nope. Oh, no. Nope. No. What? No. You can just move on. Okay. So were there no men on the compound, or what? Did you have more to say?
No, that's it for right now.
I hate you.
Sorry.
I hate you.
I'm sorry. I don't love this. So the initial state charges included 40 counts of aggravated child molestation.
Okay, question. So was he there or was he not there?
He was arrested entering a grocery store.
Oh, okay.
Once they arrested him, then they went to the compound and found all that stuff.
But
once they had him in custody.
Men there?
I'm confused. All that was said is there was no resistance, and no other men were arrested at the time.
Okay.
So there was no resistance. I don't know if they just told them to lay down their weapons. I don't know. Not a
Okay.
whole lot on that. The initial state charges included 40 counts of aggravated child molestation, 34 counts of child molestation, 2 counts of influencing witnesses, and 1 count of child exploitation. When more evidence against York came to light, the number of counts grew even higher. On May 16, 2002, in a state case, York was indicted by a grand jury on 120 accounts, including 74 counts of child molestation, 29 counts of aggravated child molestation, and 1 count of rape.
Yikes.
A separate federal level case charged York with racketeering and transporting children across state lines for the purpose of sexual intercourse.
So is that like them saying because they traveled from New York to Georgia?
It's sex trafficking.
Right. Good.
In federal court, York pleaded guilty to 1 count of unlawful transport of minors for the purpose of engaging in sex acts and a count of attempting to evade financial reporting requirements.
What do you mean?
So that's
What
what
do you
he pled guilty to, only that.
Oh, okay. The rest he pled not guilty to? Okay. I thought you were about to tell me he had a plea deal and I was like gonna freak out.
York would serve 15 years in a federal prison if the court accepted the plea agreement.
Not enough time. No, please don't tell me they accepted.
In 2003, U.S. District Court Judge Hugh Lawson rejected the deal.
Oh my God. I was like really worried there.
Lawson eventually recused himself from the case due to a defense motion, and York's case went to trial in 2004 in federal court.
Okay.
York was ultimately sentenced to 135 years in prison on the state charges. Good. He was convicted on 4 counts of racketeering and 6 child molestation related charges. The racketeering charges enabled the government to evict the Nuwaubians from Tamaray and confiscate their property.
Wow.
So that is why it's hard to find those pictures, because it's gone.
They demolished it?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
York's
That's
main
crazy.
wife, Kathy Johnson, reportedly did agree to a guilty plea and was sentenced 2 years in prison.
Good.
She had been accused of child molestation, procuring children for sex with York, and instructing the children on sexual techniques. So in April 2004, Johnson was sentenced to 2 years in prison to be followed by 18 years on probation.
Okay.
There were 3 other women who were initially charged but have never been prosecuted.
I really want to know if those women like did it on purpose or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if they like knew or not. Yeah. York's prison sentence did not destroy the Nuwaubians, though they have diminished in numbers. When the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals considered York's case on appeal in September 2005, 200 Nuwaubian protesters demonstrated in Atlanta to show their support, but that October the court did uphold York's conviction, so obviously it did not get appealed.
So like what's happening? Is he just leading from the prison like the FLDS dude, or
in 2009? Yes, in 2009 Nuwaubians tried to get York out of jail by sending false documents to his maximum security prison. So they like tried to like
I'm sorry, that's not how that works. Being that I worked in a prison, we double check, triple check, and like
I'm glad they did, because some of these documents were actually stamped by notaries, public.
That's crazy.
But 6 of whom lived in Athens, Georgia, where some Nuwaubians have relocated. So they were like, wait, let's look into this. Howard Sills, the sheriff responsible for York's arrest, has also been harassed by the Nuwaubians. They have sued him more than 12 times, and one placed a fake lien on his property.
What the fuck?
On August 26, 2009, 300 people congregated at a federal courthouse in Macon, Georgia, to support an appeal filed to get York out of jail. So they are still trying.
Right. That's crazy.
It's fucking wild. As of 2011, Nuwaubians still protest frequently on website and online forums, defending York's innocence and alleging that the government framed him.
How? Like, so messed up. So they just think the underage thing is okay? That's so fucked, bro.
That is the story of the Nuwaubian cult.
That's so crazy. I can't believe he said out loud, yo, I'll dress up as a nun as long as I get that money, though. As long as I get that money. That's crazy.
That money, though. Wild. All right, well, you made it this long. That's it for this episode. Sorry to bring us down. If you enjoyed the podcast, don't forget to follow us, leave us a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, hi, like and subscribe. Do it.
Do it. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with our username at TTATA Podcast, and in the bio of all of our social media. You got my eye twitching again. In the bio of all of our social media is our link tree, which has our email in it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, topic ideas, hit us up. Let us know.
Thanks for listening again, guys. Next week, we are going to be doing urban legends and cryptids. Oh, let's go. I'm excited. With that, we're going to leave you with this inspirational quote.
We must let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us.
Beautiful.
By Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, because
It's true.
you just make plans and those usually don't happen.
I mean, I was planning on being single staff sergeant in Marines working at a brig, and here I am, married.
2 kids.
At 20. Married at 20, 2 kids by 30. That is not at all what I thought my life was going to be.
But it's a beautiful life.
It is.
It's
been amazing.
All right, guys. Until next time. Wait. I fucked that up. Wait.
I was like, wait, what?
Thanks for listening again, guys.
Until next time.
Bye.